Joining us now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Mr. President, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Brad.
This is our sixth time sitting down together since the beginning of the war. This is a crucial moment for you as you had this meeting with President Trump. What's your assessment coming out of that meeting?
It was a very important meeting. I'm thankful to President Trump. Really, it was a very productive meeting. And in Mar-a-Lago, maybe another mood here, I don't know. But in any way, so our teams worked a lot. And I'm very happy about the last a little bit more than 1 month, how our teams worked. Really, I'm thankful.
You talked in percentages and said at one point 95%, 100% on this issue. There's a 20-point plan.
Yes.
It is very detailed, but you are making significant concessions here.
20 points plan, and when I said 90%, it's true, because there are questions with only 2 points. That's why I said 90%. It's really 90%. It's very productive. Even with one question today, we've been very close, and I think we have problem with one question. It's about territories. Yes, this is a difficult question, but even with this, with the territories, even with the fact that on this one point we have different views with Russians. This is important not with Americans, with Russians. And the United States understand the positions of sides, and they try to find a compromise. We spoke about different steps, and Ukraine demonstrated during these months these steps.
You say this is the most difficult part, settling the territorial disputes. And you've suggested that Ukraine might be willing to withdraw from Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, the 4 provinces that Russia wants to annex, but only if it's approved in a referendum that Ukrainians could vote on. Is that still the case?
I think that Ukrainian people has to vote in referendum for the document, 20 points plan. We have a lot of documents. I'm speaking only about this document. Referendum gives if it approves positively, and I hope that everything will be done and finalized positively. So if Ukrainian nation will approve it positively, it's a great success for President Trump, because it's under his leadership. So what we have now, we have the question with the territories, and we can't, it's not about referendum or parliament or the president. We can't just withdraw. It's out of our law. We can't just withdraw from our territories. It's not only the law. People live there. 300,000 people live there. We can't lose just people. We can't go out because hundreds of thousands have been wounded, dozens of thousands been killed there. And so I said that it's not only about the law, and also our army there. That's why we proposed, I think, the compromise. If we do free economic zone, that we have to move some kilometers back, it means that Russia has to make mirror steps some kilometers back. And this free economic zone will have specific rules. If we will decide, the decision will be about economic zone, something like this, referendum is the way how to accept it or not accept.
If we look at the attacks by Russia into Kyiv, drones, missiles, you go back to the beginning of the year all the way through December, it has picked up significantly. There's so many more attacks towards the end of the year. Is there any indication that you see that Vladimir Putin wants peace by what he's doing or saying?
Me not, be honest. And I don't see it because, first of all, I don't hear it publicly. His messages, he doesn't speak about peace. Now he doesn't speak. He says that he can go further. It's not the signals of peace. So that's why, of course, we need dialogue and pressure from President Trump. Sanctions, dialogue, he has some instruments, and he personally can do it, I think. And I think that he's trying to do it, trying to bring this peace.
But you listened to him, and you heard him talk about his call with Vladimir Putin, and he speaks positively about it. In fact, there was one point in the press conference where he said this.
Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed.
There was a pan over to your reaction, and you kind of had your eyebrows went up and you smiled a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't agree with that?
No, it's not about agree. I don't trust Russians, and they don't want. I mean, this. I don't trust Putin, and he doesn't want success for Ukraine. Really, he doesn't want. He can say it. I believe that he can say such words to President Trump. I believe in it, that he can say it, but it's not truth, really. He doesn't want to have from President Trump more pressure with sanctions and etc. And he can say that I want success for Ukraine and I'm ready to give them cheap electricity. Really, between us, we don't need cheap, this energy because we paid so great, this price, our lives. It's not about energy. We don't need anything from them. That's why I think its message is for President Trump, yes, to find a way how to communicate with him.
Yeah, the question was about helping with reconstruction after the war, and that Russia wants to help. And
they have to give us money.
Yeah,
they can give us money for this, and we will rebuild everything what we need to rebuild, and we will decide what to do.
President Trump and Steve Witkoff, his envoy, sometimes say Ukraine is losing the war, and then sometimes they say Ukraine can't win. You don't agree with that?
Yes, I can explain. It's understandable that when Russia is occupying about 3,000 kilometers per year, these last 2 years, it's understandable that it looks that we are not winning. But it's not real fact, because the price of these 3,000 kilometers, for this year, the price was 400,000 people, Russian soldiers. Now, Russia loses 31,000 soldiers killed per month. I'm not speaking about wounded. 31. It's a real fact because of the drones. We have now video confirmations of all these killed people. If you look at the people, they are losing. If you look at the kilometers, they are winning.
Do you think you could win or end this war on your terms if the U.S. withdraws support? If they get frustrated in this process and you can't get it across the finish line, can you end this?
If we are speaking, can we win without American support? No. Because we can't. First, we will think about, all the soldiers will think only about their families. And without American support, we can't defend the sky. Even now, it's very difficult. But American support with missiles for air defense, really helpful and strong in any case. Russia uses hundreds, you see hundreds and thousands of drones and missiles, so it's difficult. It's not enough air defense. And on the battlefield, we use some weapon which we buy from American, some rounds, artillery, and etc. from American side. Without it, of course, we can't win.
So just take us behind the scenes in this meeting. Was the meeting with President Trump about you trying to convince him of your pathway to peace, or him trying to convince you of his?
Who can convince him? We can have only dialogue. And I think this is good that we had very open dialogue, and we know each other. From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
Your relationship has evolved. Evolved over the...
It's true. We know as each other. And so we are not convincing each other. It's about, I think it's more difficult than convince two presidents each other. It's because it's about people, it's about nation. You need really recognize the will of people, and you need to respect it.
The security guarantee.
Yeah.
Do you need Congress to vote on that so that it is long-term beyond this president?
We respect President Trump, and his decision is powerful, but of course we need Congress for this, maybe Senate or Congress, I don't know.
To ratify.
Yeah. So, of course, we legally binding want to have these security guarantees. Today we spoke with the president, And there is a proposition, the first proposition, it's security guarantees for 15 years. It's a good proposition with possibility of continuation. But we spoke with President, and I was very open with him that, Mr. President, I said, look, we have now the war, which is almost 15 years. We respect this proposition, but maybe we can make more. And he said he will work on it. And I hope that it can be more years and with Congress.
So is it a NATO-like security guarantee,
yes,
but not NATO?
Yeah, it's not NATO. Of course, it's bilateral security guarantees, Ukraine-America document, and but it's NATO mirror, yes, NATO-like.
And how would you define an attack that would say Russia was in violation? So is it a ground invasion or a cyber attack or drones?
Yeah, now we work on it. It's really almost 100% done. And it's understandable in the document, which is good. The first time in our history.
It's clear.
It's clear. This is very important. They work on it to be more clear. We can respect these security guarantees because it will be clear for the people. And not only for people, citizens, also for business, for investments, for everybody. Because you can't just, this risk and don't know when Russians will come, what will be, who will defend.
People are tired in Ukraine, right? They're very resilient. They've been fighting all this time.
It's true.
But they're tired. Are they ready for a deal?
People want peace. Today, President Trump said, I saw the polls that 85%, maybe 87%, he said first, want peace, so they agree. I said, yeah, this is our life. 87% support peace. At the same time, 85% against to withdraw from East, from the Donbass. It's meant that everybody wants peace, but just peace.
But that's the hard part, is the territory.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. So how do you get to yes?
All the parties have to understand that the worst way is to go out from the Donbass. It will be big risks for Ukraine, not acceptable by Ukrainians, but they will, just personally, and referendum will not be positive. Of course, referendum is, if we will go to referendum, is very important. But if we are not stupid, we can't go to referendum. All of us, after signing with President Trump, with me, after signing this, we can't go to referendum knowing that referendum will,
fail.
I think it's stupid. I think so. That's why we have to find real peace, real way to peace, which is acceptable by Ukrainian nation.
You think it's possible, though?
We have to do it. We have to do it. We don't have other way. Other way, it will be the war. Continuation.
Mr. President, stand by if you would. More with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy after this.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.